Okay.
Hey, who's there?
Hi, I'm Josh. I'm the lead developer for the game codenamed SCP Redacted. This is a program I wrote called 3D World Studio, and this is a level editor for making games. It was actually used to make all the levels in a little game called SCP Containment Breach. Now, I went on to create my own game engine called Leadwerks, and now we are using Leadwerks 5 to create a brand new SCP game for you to play. This video is going to be our very first developer log for the game. Now, before we get started, there's a couple of links in the description below to the Steam store page for both our game and for Leadwerks 5. That's the technology that we're using to create the game. If you could add both of those to your wish list on Steam, it really makes a huge difference. It would really help us out, and I really appreciate it. So, thank you. In this developer log, first I'm going to talk about our AI system, and then the rest of the team will follow up with some information about level design and also creating models for the environment. Now, for this game, I really didn't want to rely on scripted encounters because I feel that when these are overused, it really kind of breaks the immersion because you can tell that when you hit a scripted sequence and it's just like, at that point, your involvement in the game isn't that important because there's just this predetermined outcome that you're supposed to trigger by pressing the right button at the right time. And for me, it's just it really it doesn't allow a lot of replayability, and it just breaks the immersion. So I'm really going for more for these complex behaviors, and I'm really hoping to see that this will lead to emergent gameplay. I'd really like for the player to encounter unique situations with the AI in each playthrough. And some of my influences for this are Alien Isolation, Stalker, their A-Life system, which I'm a huge fan of, and we also got some ideas from Left 4 Dead. So I started with SCP-939, and it actually turns out that he is the perfect test specimen for most of our AI system. There's some aspects to 939 that present some pretty big challenges. First, he's a quadruped. He's a four-legged animal, and he has a long body, which presents some challenges for the navigation and collision system. He has a long neck, so if he moves around, if he turns his head around, if I don't do anything about it, his head is going to go through walls, which we want to prevent that. He moves very quickly, so we have to make sure that his acceleration and movement works at those speeds. And I think there's a lot of opportunities here for complex social behavior between different instances of 939, and that includes communication. Of course, they're not humanoid. They're not that intelligent, but they do have communication among themselves in the same way that a pack of animals can. And then they have a very unique vocalization behavior, and there's some work I had to do on the sound system to get that to work the way that I wanted. So 939 is actually our base for all other SCPs. There are other SCPs that exhibit other behavior that 939 does not have, but I think if I can get 939 working the way I want, I think that's a pretty good foundation for everything else. So all of our SCPs in this game, they only have the information that their perception systems give them. And they have vision, hearing, and then kind of touch, sensing, just if the player gets too close to them, they know where they are. So the vision system is influenced by light. It's influenced by motion. So an object in motion will catch their eye faster than a still object. Your stature has an influence on it. So in other words, if you're standing up, you're more visible than if you're crouched. And the distance that you are from them, they can see closer, they can see better when objects that are closer. And that all of these factors vary from between each SCP. Some of them require light to see, and some of them can see in the dark better. So it really varies, but it's the same general principles. They also have a hearing system, so they can hear noises that are within range if they're loud enough, and they will sometimes go and check out and find out what made the noise. Now for the visuals perception system, I took some ideas from Alien Isolation, and I divided I created these multiple volumes for his vision. This is his peripheral vision. It extends to about 80 degrees on each side, and anything in this area in front of him will become visible to him after it's within that volume for a few moments. I also found it was necessary to add a wide peripheral area. And the reason for this is, okay, so SCP-939, he doesn't actually have eyes. He has light-sensitive spots on his body and heat pits like a viper. But during gameplay, it felt wrong not to have his vision on his head, just because when he turns his head around, you just intuitively expect him to be able to understand what he's looking at based on where his head is. So I am treating him as if he has eyes on his head, but you'll notice he has this elongated head like a deer. So it makes more sense for his eyes to be on the side of his head rather than facing forward. So that's why I added this wide peripheral field of about 120 degrees on both sides. His primary vision is this cone of about 30 degrees wide directly in front of him. And if you're far enough away, he won't really understand what he's looking at yet. And so he'll probably start walking towards you slowly. And then once you're in the attack zone, which is about half the range of the primary vision, once you get in this area, you're probably not going to survive. So I really did not want the SCP to just attack as soon as there was an unbroken line of sight. I wanted to give the player a lot of warnings that they are in danger, and I wanted to give them enough opportunity that they can maybe escape if they are fast enough and smart enough. Okay, we're in one of my test levels, and we have an SCP-939 right around the corner there. And we're going to walk into his peripheral field of view in a moment, but I want you to notice that when we do that, he doesn't just immediately run towards him. There's a sequence of events that occurs. First, we have to sit in his peripheral field of view for a few moments before he really notices us. And then he's going to turn his head slowly towards us and look, to see what he's looking at. And then he's still far away enough that he's going to walk towards us slowly because he's not sure what he sees yet. And then when he gets closer to us, then he's going to go into attack mode. So I want you to just keep those steps in mind, and then just watch and see if you can identify that, because it's going to go pretty quickly. He also just looks around randomly a bit sometimes. Okay.
Hey, who's there?
So now he's in chase mode, and I mean, there's no way I can outrun this guy. If he could attack me right now, I would be dead many times over. His head and shoulders will turn towards us, which is nice. It makes it look a lot more natural. It's a lot of fun. Now I want to show you the head turning motion that I added. This actually adds a lot to the gameplay. This came about because I noticed when he was standing still, it looked very unnatural. He's just looking straight ahead. And of course, SCP-939, he will patrol areas, he will engage in different behaviors. He doesn't just stand still all the time. This one is set to, but sometimes he does for a brief period of time, and it looked kind of strange to me. And it also creates this blind spot behind him that you can hang out in. And I didn't like that, so I just made it so he'll randomly look back and forth. He's doing it right now. And when he does that, his field of view actually changes. So I'm going to go... I'm going to go back in his blind spot and then just wait for his... for him to do another head sweep. Good boy. So the moral of the story is you're never safe around 939. Sound is a very important aspect to our game. All the SCPs have a sense of hearing, SCP-939 doesn't have very good vision, but he has an extremely good sense of hearing. In fact, I had to disable the effect of my footsteps because I want to be able to show this, and I want to be able to move around quickly without him detecting me. Now, normally when you move, when you walk, your footsteps will also emit noise, and if it gets loud enough, then some SCPs will be attracted to that. If you crouch and walk, you will move more quietly. And that introduces some interesting conflicts in your choices, because it's like, do you want to crouch and sneak across an area? Or do you want to just run as fast as you can? And if you do that, you'll get there faster, but you also risk attracting more attention. So I'm going to open this door, and it's going to make quite a lot of noise, which he's going to be attracted to. But I can also use this to my advantage. I can pick up objects and throw them, and he's going to come and check out what the noise was. So if I do it right, I can use that, I can throw objects and sneak around. And that's one way to avoid dangerous SCPs. The blue meshes that you're looking at are the navigation mesh, and this controls where the SCPs are allowed to walk. This is generated automatically, and it's dynamic, so when this door opens, it will actually form a little bridge that he can cross through there. In addition to that, we also found it was necessary to add waypoints, and these are just placed right in the floor because it's just easier to put them there. We don't have to connect them manually. The scene loading routine just automatically connects them and turns them into a network. But that does a better job of telling him where he should go next. If you don't have the waypoints, then all you can do is just pick a random spot somewhere in the level and have him follow the navigation mesh there. If you have the waypoints, then he kind of knows, his motion looks a lot more natural. The waypoints are also weighted by how many times they've been used. So if he gets to a juncture and he has to choose which direction to go, which waypoint to go to next, he will tend to go to the one that has been used fewer times, but there's still some randomness to it, so it's still unpredictable, but there's also some patterns to it, so it makes it look much more intelligent. Okay, now we can see SCP-939 on patrol. And he's just going back and forth to different waypoints. That sphere on the wall that just shows me where his body hits the wall. And he's going through some pretty tight hallways there. But he's doing okay with that. And his movement is just random from waypoint to waypoint right now. But I'm going to open this door over here for him. And he'll probably go through it because there's a greater probability that he'll choose that path, but it's not 100% for sure, so I'm not sure what he's going to do. Yeah, he didn't go for it, but he probably will soon. There we go. And now he's going to try to cover this whole area pretty evenly, but again, sometimes he's going to go back and double back. You never really know with SCP-939 or any of the other entities in this game. The elongated body of SCP-939, as well as other SCPs that we plan to include, it presented some challenges with the navigation and collision system. Now we use a library called Recast Pathfinding for navigation, and it's based on the player being a cylinder. So it's really more appropriate for humanoid characters. And the first thing I tried was I just put the cylinder right in the middle of his body. The problem with that is his nose would stick through walls, and his hindquarters could also go through walls. So I moved the position of the navigation agent up to his head, and that was better, but then his entire body can easily go through walls if he goes through a sharp corner. My solution to this was to add another shape around his body. It's actually more of a pill shape, but I manually perform collision checking with that body shape against the level, and then if any collisions occur, it just kind of rotates his body around the head so that his whole body isn't going through walls, and that worked really well. Okay, now in game we have him set to just patrol, and you can see how his body just goes right through those corners. That's really bad. We don't like that. Okay, so now we have that extra collision test enabled, and we have physics debugging enabled so that we can see a little bit better. And his body will no longer go through the walls. Of course, I have the waypoints set to be very close to the corners here because I'm trying to exaggerate the effect and show the problem better. So we want to try to avoid the situation where he's making very sharp turns, but if it comes down to it, his body will never pass through a wall like we saw before. So I think this is an example of how the fact that I wrote this engine, it just gives me tremendous control over every aspect of the game so that I can deliver exactly the experience that I want you, the players, to have. Now, a lot of people compare SCP-939 to a dog or a wolf, but I actually modeled it more like a cat. And if you know anything about cats, they can be very lazy, but they can also be very energetic. And it's like when they they have some kind of stimulus, like they see a bird or they get excited over something, it doesn't happen all at once. It builds up, and then once they're in that agitated state, then it takes them a long time to get back down. So their pupils will get very, very big. They'll start making very, very fast motions and running around, jumping. And it'll take them a long time to get tired out and get back to the lazy state. So let's take a look at that in game. Now I want to show you his agitation state. Now this this instance of it is set to be deaf, so I don't have to be quite as careful as I would normally, but he can still see me and he's going to come running after me.
What the hell are you?
Okay, there he goes. Let's get him really upset. He's only 13% agitated.
Hey, no!
Okay, now he's excited. And you can see, like, once he gets going, he's... Yeah. He's running all around the level. So he's simultaneously more dangerous in this state, but he's also actually more likely to make mistakes, because if he happens to run by you, he's going pretty quickly. So like that, if he had been walking, he would have noticed me, but because he's running, he's more likely to just run past you and not see you immediately. So it's kind of a trade-off. Of course, he's extremely dangerous when you just have one in their agitated state, and you can see that just slowly drains down, and he'll start to calm down and get slower and slower. But yeah, he's pretty scary when he gets riled up like this. He just missed me because he was going so fast.
Hey, who's there?
Okay.
Hi, my name is Steven. I'm in charge of level design for SCP Redacted. I got my start making source engine mods like Blue Portals, and I also made Portal 2 maps such as A Little Higher and Tornit. In 2022, I was able to ship my own game, Cyclone, using the power of Leadwerks 4, and today I want to show you how I'm using Leadwerks 5 to create levels for SCP Redacted. Let's take a look. Okay, so now we're in the Leadwerks editor, and the first question we had to answer was, well, what was our game going to look like? We wanted our game to be unified in the SCP universe, but we also wanted our game to stand out among other SCP titles on Steam. And one thing I noticed about other SCP titles was that it used a lot of white lighting with no color, very little coloring with their levels. And to me, that just made every game look the same. And with this map, I experimented with adding some color. So I start with a very dark fog color. You almost can't see unless I like scroll out here. You can see it on like this box right here. And then with these lights, instead of having it be white lights, they're actually like a blue. Let's just go here. Go to my light color appearance. See, it's like it's like a blue color. It's more stronger in blue than white. And then we also use lights to guide the player where they need to go. So for example, this spotlight here is pointing right at this door. So when you come in down this door here, you know, oh, okay, I gotta go to this door. And if you turn around, you notice that like, you know this is like the wrong way to go. One thing I don't want SCP Redacted to do was throw players in a totally pitch black room and they have to like navigate through the levels without any like guidance. So we also use like this piping right here to help guide the player. It just subconsciously communicates that like this is the way forward because you got like this shape and your eyes just follow to the exit. And you also got this like nice vent here coming out at the end, and it just goes right into where you need to go. So that's one strategy of level design we're using with SCP Redacted to help player navigation. One interesting thing I discovered while doing level design for SCP Redacted was that I had to make my ceilings more interesting than just a plane with a material on it. Inspired by Half-Life Alyx, I created these office tiles. Now each office tile is 3 separate models. There's the support model right here, and then there's the frame, and then there's the actual office tile. Now, with these 3 models, you can create variations like this one here, where the tile is pushed up and off to the right here, so the maintenance person can do some duct or pipe work, or you can have it completely missing, or you can do a separate vent. Now you'll notice that each tile is its own like entity group, and it's not very optimal. Although the engine can handle this, it's not very ideal. I'd rather have the engine rendering more SCPs or rendering more lights than office tiles. So I would actually optimize these office tiles. So thankfully all these office tiles are in a subfolder here, and I would just select all these, right click, save as model, and I'm gonna go my models. I'm just going to this demo folder. I'm gonna call this tiles. I'm gonna save as a Leadwerks model, and hit save. Let's see, it gets saved. I'm gonna refresh, and I'm gonna bring out my model editor here, and there it is, all one model, and we can actually make optimizations for it. We can collapse it, and there it is. And then we can add a collision mesh. Right here. There. So instead of all those tiles being separate models and groups, it is now just one model, and it's pointing to the same materials. So that is one way we're optimizing SCP Redacted, so it can run at 60 frames or higher, and you can run away from the SCPs and not feel dragged down by your frame rate. So after we had the hallway done, I was tasked to make something a little bit more open. So I created this lobby right here, and doing big maps is a little bit overwhelming at first because you don't know how it's going to like play out, and you don't want the map to be like just a giant box, or at least feel like a giant box. So I started with these steps here, and I played with the bevel tool just to get an idea of like what type of lobby this was going to be. I wanted it to be like a modern lobby with concrete stairs and a lot of marble flooring and this plaster wall here. So I started with these stairs to get like that feeling, that modern feeling. And then from these stairs, I just boxed the rest of the map out. And everything just started to snowball. I started getting ideas like, oh, I can do this, and I can add these pillars here, and I can cut this wall out. Oh, where would the elevator be? And so on. And then we added these SCP icons here. It's like, oh, okay, like they would want to showcase their logo, and it'll be like this light around it. And we have this secure, contain, protect up here. And I just love to make the levels just feel lived in. So one thing I liked to do was I liked making these books over here. These magazines I made just quickly, just to fill it in. I just love doing things like that. Modders have been doing it for a long time with the maps. They just add a bit of themselves. And I did that with some of these pictures here. Like this picture right here is actually a picture I took in East Hampton on Long Island. And it's just a car, and it's just overlooking the bay, and I thought that was really nice. So I made that one of the pictures here. And there's a lot of pictures you'll find, a lot of Easter eggs, developer jokes you may or may not find. So I'm really excited to see if you can find all of them. One feature I want to show is Leadwerks 5's painting tool. Now I have this tile here on the floor, and I want to add some scuffs to it. So let's see what I can do. So first I'm going to just reselect these faces here. And I'm going to just do a simple subdivision like that. Then I'm going to go to the paint tool and hit browse. And I'm going to look for scuffs right here. Flush scuff is fine. We're going to increase the brush stroke right here. And just like that, I have some variety in the reflection of the floor. It looks a little bit more dirty. Let's add another layer. So I'm gonna go same thing. We're gonna reselect these faces. Right here, I'm gonna add 4 scuff 2. Yeah. Saw that in real time. Oh, I overpainted, but that's okay. But just tools like that just allow me to just add more detail to the map just so easily. And it's something I didn't have before because I came from the source engine, and then I went to Leadwerks 4. Now with Leadwerks 5, it's just so cool that I can just go in and just make clean materials dirty, like this wall here. Let's make this wall dirty. So we're gonna do the same thing here. I'm gonna subdivide it. And let's just add dirt. Let's see if I can find something. Doesn't really matter, but let's add this. And we can just just paint it like that. We can add some touch. We can add some on the bottom. That's how I like to do it. Again, we're painting on all surface on everything, but you can always isolate the selected surface, so it won't paint like on this blue wall. And it's just I just get so hyper focused when I paint, and it's really cool. And I hope you appreciate my painting work, because I just love doing it so much. I can do this for hours. So the last map I want to show is this sci-fi hallway. So until now, we established what the Foundation's lobbies, offices, or hallways are going to look like. And for the labs, we were going to take a similar approach, but then we were like, wait a minute, if all the levels look the same, then there won't be like that favorite part that the player will connect with. So an important game to me is BioShock, because every map or level is like has its own identity. And that's something I want to do with SCP Redacted, is that make every map feel unique, so you can refer back to it. You can be like, oh yeah, that was the lab, or that was the offices. So for the lab, we went with, okay, we're gonna make it a little bit more on the sci-fi edge. We're not gonna do flat walls, and we looked at Dune 2016. So we went with more of a modern level design. So instead of brushes or CSG tools, we used just models for these walls. And these walls were actually brushes at one point. But we used that save as model feature, as demonstrated before, to create this into a model. So, and then we could just duplicate these wall panels over and over again. And then we can just add details like in Doom with just these decals here. So we get a lot of variety with just minimal assets. And another feature we experimented with was with the decal itself, with opacity. So like here's a good example. So the detail here, the normals, is just, and the roughness and the metallic is just a decal. This is just a model. And the model doesn't have this detail in, it's actually this decal right here. So if I were to move this out, it disappears, and there it is. And that's just some of the ways where just adding more detail to the map with less effort on our part. So before, I would have to make all these brushes, and which is fine. I love using CSG tools, but in this case, using models was more easier. Everything just snaps to place, and if something doesn't align just right, we can always just resize it to where we need it to be, and it will most of the time work out. So I'm really happy with this result here. And from this angle, I just want to show you how we're using lighting to guide the player. So I designed this map so you would come down this hallway and you would turn. Now you see that these two lights are out, and then you have this red light shining through, and we have this broken glass. Now this glass is actually a model, and it's made in a way where it will actually cast shadows on the floor here. And you can see that the shadows are actually tilted slightly to the left, so it's leading the player to go around this corner here. And that's just an example of what we plan to do in future levels with SCP Redacted and guiding the player with lights and shadows.
Hey guys, I'm Andy, I'm the 3D artist of this project, and I will show you today our workflow to create 3D models, starting from Maya, bringing them into Substance, and then in the end creating the model in the engine itself. So yeah, stay tuned. So the journey of every 3D model begins here in Maya, where I create the basic shape of the model. So this model, for example, the air conditioner is made out of 4 meshes. It's the base from the air conditioner, then the 2 pipes and the stripes in front. And if I'm done with this, I export the model and bring it to Prism UV in order to create the UVs. Yeah, and the second step in the 3D workflow is to create the UVs. As I said before, I use Prism UV for this. It's a pretty fantastic tool. We have 2 ways to do this. The first way is we can use the auto unwrap function from the program, and then AI will unwrap the UVs for you. Or you can place the cuts for yourself and yeah, unwrap it on the old way. I prefer the second one because I have more control over the seams than letting an AI doing this for me. So yeah, we have here some good placed seams. They will not be visible in the game. It's important that you know that every seam you place can be get visible for the player. So you want to place the seams in positions or in locations where the player won't see them. For example, at the bottom or here at the wall where the air conditioner is placed on the wall or something like this. So it's important to understand that seams can be visible, and you should avoid also creating too much seams. In the end, if you unfold them, you have the UV island here on the right, and you can see the target textile density is 10.24 textiles per centimeter, and every part of the model has the same textile density. It's important that they have the same resolution, otherwise it would look not that good. And this is it. In the end, I saved the model, the FBX file, and it contains the UV maps, and then I bring them into Maya again. Back in Maya, I imported the model and duplicated it. The reason for this is we need one model with only a single material, and we need a model with multiple materials assigned. As you can see here, we got this one with the white one with a single material, and the green, red, blue one with 4 materials. And the red materials are the pipes, the green material is the surface of the air conditioner, the blue materials are the stripes, and there is a 4th material which will get a black plane in order to look good if you stand before and look into this. So we need this to optimize the game in order to save some video memory, because I obviously could export this and use 4 materials, and but this would be a bit too much, to be honest. So the goal is to have one texture set which contains all the materials later on, and for this we need to bake an ID map. We will do this later in Substance, but we need to prepare some stuff before. So you need to have the 2 meshes, you need to have the assigned materials, and the last step, which is not done here, is they need to have the exact same transform attributes. So they need to overlap perfectly. The same translation, the same rotation, and the same scale. So for this, we set this back to 0, 0, 0. And now we need to export both of them into single FBX files and bring them into Substance. So we are in Substance. This is the part I like the most. I like creating textures because there you can see, okay, the model is coming alive and it start looking good, and I imported the mesh already with the single material in this step, and I will bake this now. As I said before, we have to have a second mesh with all the materials we want to bake into the color ID, and for this I add this high poly mesh with the multiple materials, and you can see they change something and they overlap perfectly. It looks pretty good, and we also can adjust the target size for the textures. I think 2K is enough for this. We don't really need 4K for this model. It's not that big, and 2K is more than enough. So I hit the baking button, and you can see there was some colors which looks familiar with the 3D mesh or 3D model we created in Maya. And after the baking is done, I go back to the draw mode, and you can see here we have the IDs from before into a single material, into a single texture material, or into a single texture slot, and this is what we want. So instead of having the 4, we have only 1, and we can now start using it or start painting it. If I want to example create some cover for the pipes, I drag and drop this material out there, hold down the control key and release it on the red surface, and then we have a perfect copper pipe material here. The same I can do with obviously the surface of the air conditioner. I want to use the steel painted with this edgeware. I really like this material, and it looks really good. So you have the edges and it looks absolutely fantastic. This also a bit dirtier, and yeah, it looks absolutely fantastic. Then I want to add some steel for the pipes, and we want to make this magenta material behind there. So I create a fill layer, make it black. We don't need the metalness, we don't need normal, we don't need a height for this, and put the roughness to 1. Then I create a color ID mask, select the color I want to use, and now you can see, if you stand there and look inside this, you can't see anything, it's a black material. But yeah, it looks better than if you, for example, would create something like this. Would not look good, right? So in the end, the black material looks much better. It gives you the feeling that there is something in, but you can't see it because it's dark, and this is the goal for why I do this, or why I did this. Then we could add some normals in order to fake some 3D effects. This approach I really like, because you can create more details for a model without actually need to create some more vertices, some real 3D vertices, and this will allow us to make, yeah, to let the game run on even a lower hardware. If you yeah, use technique like this will, yeah, save performance in the end, and you will able to use some more materials or models, and yeah, with the cost of nothing. It's just a normal map, and the model itself anyway got a normal map, so this fake 3D stuff will cost nothing, because we anyway have a normal map to calculate and the shader later on. So yeah, and as you can see, you have now the feeling that there is some 3D, but it's actually only a normal map. I really like this. It's hard to describe, and I hope you understand it. And yeah, so you can fake some 3D stuff here. For example, I can add this as normal, and it looks so fantastic. You obviously can't use this for everything. But for small details, it's perfect to use normal maps instead of modeling this in 3D, because this in 3D would be around like 200 or 300 vertices or even more. So yeah, it's really good. And in the next step, we want to export this textures and bring them into the engine, but not this model itself. I prepared already a model for this. I can show you this. Here's the original model I created. It's a bit more detailed. I painted a bit more dirt on it, and let it look a bit older. Here you can see the normal map, and yeah, the black plane in the inside. Yeah, here's some rust, some welding effects here at the edge, and other stuff. And yeah, this model we bring now in the engine and create the LODs. And now we are on the last step. We are creating the model in the engine itself. So for this I converted the GLTF into an MDL. It's the internal model format. And now we use this awesome feature to reduce the mesh in order to create the LODs. So the LODs are some lower resolution versions from the model. If you are, for example, far away, you don't want to see the 2200 polygons. It's not optimized at all, and you don't want to have this because you don't see these details anyway. So you want to reduce the polygons in order to save some performance. And this we want to do now. It's pretty easy. It's pretty straightforward with this tool. I love it. And you go to reduce mesh, and then I can set a target like 1700. And yeah, as you can see, it's already lesser. I think it's not even noticeable because he is taking from the pipes a lot of vertices out, which is good. So I click add LOD. The second LOD is on 1100. And we have a final one. And I would set this to 600. Which is more than enough. If it's far away, he won't realize it anyway. So yeah, thousands from 2200 to 600 in the last LOD. And if I go now to this, I see all the LODs I created, and yeah, save the model, and it's done. It's in the engine now. Steven can use it and for the level design, and it's perfect. Yeah, so thank you for watching this short trip, and see you in the next video. Bye bye.
Thanks for watching the video. I hope you had fun. It was a lot of fun making it. Before you go, you can like and subscribe to this channel if you like, but it's not really a big deal. What is a big deal is wishlist ads on Steam. So if you could add our game to your wishlist on Steam, I'd really appreciate it. It makes a huge difference, and it really helps the game to grow. Thanks.